Hello, good day, wherever you are in your day and your part of the world. Thanks for joining me. Welcome to day 5 of Sun Salutations with me. I'm Laren from Yellow Umbrella Yoga. Go ahead and get set up, put your hair up if you need to, make sure you're comfy, have a mat ready, like mine behind me. If you would like to bring along a blanket or a towel to give your knees a little extra comfort, please go ahead and grab that now. I'll meet you on the mat. Oh, I should mention it might be good to have some water nearby as well, also in the interest of self-care. We're going to try to move through our flow a couple more times today than we have the last 4 days, starting to utilize the strength we've begun to build and starting to build a little more warmth in the body. As always, you can slow this down, go at your pace if it's moving too quickly for you, or if you'd like to move faster, go for it. Let's begin in child's pose. So join me in hands and knees on the mat. Untuck your feet and just send your hips back towards your heels. You can take your knees a little wider if you'd like, kind of making space in your lap to settle your belly into. Stretch your arms out long in front of you. Stretch your fingers wide. Notice the texture of the mat or the ground beneath you. Settle your head down and just become heavy here for a few breaths. You can begin to employ your ujjayi breath, making a soft whisper in the back of your throat with every inhale and exhale. This will help to warm your breath and to slow it down. This will give you kind of an anchor point to hold on to and remind yourself of as you move. It's really easy to let the mind get kind of fluttery or jittery while we're moving around and doing a lot. So it's really nice to have tools to help us remember to breathe on purpose and not let our mind get carried away with us. So do that now, listening to the ocean wave of your own breath. Take 2 more breaths this way. When you're ready, walk your hands off to the left, off the side of your mat, getting a side stretch in your right rib cage. Using your breath to help that stretch be more. So inflating, fanning out your right rib cage, if that makes sense. Massaging your side body from the inside out using your breath. Walk your way back through center and send your hands over to the right. Same thing on the other side. Imagine pulling energy out of the earth with your left hand. Plug it into the ground. Send your left hip any amount more back toward your left heel. Return to center. Rest for a breath. Onto hands and knees. Bring your knees together a little more if they were wider for child's pose. Imagine kneeling on railroad tracks, stacking your joints, bringing knees under hips, ankles under, wrists under shoulders. That makes more sense. Let's begin cat-cow. Still paying attention to your breath cycle. So on the inhale, let your belly melt towards the floor, arching your back. Breathing all the way in, stretching your belly, looking at the mat in front of you. Now exhale, tuck your tail round through your low back. Press the floor away to spread your shoulders apart, lifting your spine toward the ceiling. And tuck your chin like a cat. Inhale, cow pose, melt forward. Let the movement originate at the pelvis. Let your head be the last to lift. Exhale, round, find cat pose. Now send your hips toward your heels for child's pose, bringing a little more flow into this movement. Inhale, drag your heart forward with your hands. Come forward to lift. Find cow pose again. Exhale, rounding, tucking your tail, sending it back for child's pose. Do this a couple more times. Inhale, drag your heart forward between your arms. Lift to cow pose. Exhale, tuck your tail around your back, find child's pose. Last time. Inhale, come forward, come up. And exhale, round, send it back. Come up to tabletop once more, find a neutral spine this time, as best as you're able. Extend your right arm and left leg long, reaching in front and behind you. You can point your toes or flex them. Set everything back on the mat. Other side, lift your right leg and left arm for bird dog. Again, maybe playing with flexing your toes or pointing them. Turn to center, one more time each side. Inhale, lift your right hand and left foot. Reach long. Turn to the mat. Other side, left hand, right foot, lift. You can stay in tabletop or tuck your toes. Press into your hands and feet and hover your knees an inch or two above the mat. Notice the warmth you've created in your limbs, starting to move a little more. On an inhale, send your hips to the sky. Find downward facing dog. As always, you can adjust your stance here, bringing feet and hands either closer together in center or farther apart toward the ends of your mat. You can also make your stance wider, bringing pinky edges of hands and feet towards the outer edges of your mat. Or practice balance by making that stance a little more narrow. Extend your right heel toward the mat and bend your left knee. Take a nice breath in. Imagine sending it to the back of your right leg. Switch, pick up your right heel, extend your left heel toward the floor. We call this taking the dog for a walk or pedaling out your heels in downward facing dog. When you're ready, walk your hands and feet to meet. Whatever works for you. Hang out in a forward fold. Take opposite elbow and opposite hands. You can bend your knees and rest your torso on your lap. Let your head hang as you nod yes. And shake no. Nod your head yes one more time. Release your elbows from any grasp of your hands. Let your arms be heavy as you press into your feet. Imagine sending energy down into the mat as you begin to lift. Imagine coming up one vertebrae at a time. Say hi to my cat, Jag. Let your head be last to lift. Draw your shoulder blades together behind you. Imagine broadening your chest. If it helps, you can let your palms of your hands face forward, turning your thumbs outward. Just take a breath here, standing tall in your mountain pose. Reach your hands up high, inhale. Let's begin sun salutation A now. That's what we're here to do. Let your palms touch as you hinge at the hips, diving forward for another fold. Inhale, half lift. Bring your hands to shins or lap. See if you can find a neutral curve, a neutral flat back. And reach toward the ground. Forward fold once more. Plant both hands. Step both feet back. Find plank pose, or you can drop your knees. We're headed to downward facing dog. So if you've opted to drop your knees, you can also meet me in tabletop, your option for a quadruped pose. I'm gonna opt for a downward facing dog myself today. From here, shift forward for plank once more. If you're ready to start building effort, keep your knees lifted here, or you always have the option to drop them, as I said. Keep your elbows in close, sink to your belly for chaturanga, crocodile. Flip your feet, press the tops of them into the mat. Squeeze your shoulders and elbows together behind you. Inhale, inflate your belly, peel up, look at the mat in front of you, lifting your chest and shoulders for cobra. Exhale, peel down. Let's do that again. Look to the right this time. Inhale, inflate, fill up, look over your right shoulder. And exhale, peel down. Same thing, left side. Inhale to lift and look. Exhale to unwind and return to the mat. Press your hips up and back for child's pose. Take a breath. Come forward to forearms. Tuck your toes. Come up to tabletop or send your hips all the way up for downward facing dog. And walk your hands and feet to meet at either end of your mat. Stay in your fold, nod your head yes. Inhale to lift, roll up, press into your feet. Lift your head last, let your heart shine forward. Think tall thoughts and prepare to move through another cycle. Nice work. Inhale, arms lift, reach high overhead. Palms touch, dive forward, hinge at your hips. Forward fold, reach toward the floor. Inhale, half lift, hands to shins or lap. Find a flat back as best as you're able to today. On an exhale, lead with your heart. Dive forward again. Just melt your belly down onto your lap. Hang your head. Walk your hands and feet apart. Find downward facing dog or tabletop, whichever works best for you. From here, shift forward. Bring your shoulders over your wrists for plank. Option to have your knees lowered, which was probably pretty easy if you came from tabletop. Keep your elbows in close, lower again, chaturanga. Moving through our vinyasa now. Untuck your feet. Squeeze your shoulders together. Inflate on the inhale to lift for baby cobra. And exhale, peel down. Maybe just touch your nose on the mat and then press up and back for child's pose. Take a breath. Let it go. Stay here as long as you like. When you're ready, come forward to elbows, tuck your toes. Press hands and feet away to lift your hips for downward facing dog. Walk your feet to meet your hands, maybe this time coming to the top third or so of your mat. Imagine tearing the mat in half with your feet as you lift to stand. Shrug your shoulders to your ears and then send them back and down away from the sides of your neck. Turn your thumbs outward towards the side, broadening your chest, standing tall once more. Exhale where you are. Inhale, lift your hands, reach up overhead. Fill up. Palms touch and center, dive forward, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Flat back if you're able. Exhale, dive forward, folding again. Plant your hands. A couple of options here as we keep moving through this cycle. You can keep stepping back in however many steps you'd like with your feet to find downward facing dog. Or you can plant both hands, bending your knees as much as you'd like. Start to be heavy in your hands. Let them support you more than you normally would in this pose. You can start to play with kind of hopping your way back. So just kind of making your legs like springs, sending your hips up into the air, and just give your feet any amount of air between the soles of your feet on the floor. And just kind of take little hops back. You'll get better at this over time. Nice work. Something to play with. Pause now in your downward facing dog or your tabletop pose. You're giving your diaphragm an extra workout in this quadruped position where your torso is mostly upside down, because the diaphragm has to now work against gravity to draw air into the lungs. So you're increasing your lung strength and capacity by practicing breath consciously in this pose. Shift forward for plank, your version of it today. I'm dropping my knees for mine today. Elbows in close, melt down to the floor, chaturanga. Tap your nose, tent your hands, come up onto fingertips, reminding not to put too much pressure into your hands. So let your inhale lift you, even if it's just a couple inches. So inhale, press your belly into the mat, and maybe just peel the back of your long neck up towards the ceiling, looking at the mat edge in front of you. Heel down, good work. Press into your hands, send your hips to your heels, take a child's pose. Take a breath. Come forward to forearms, tuck your toes. Active arms, press into hands and feet until hips lift, find downward facing dog. And if you liked playing with hopping, we're going to make our way back to forward fold, so you have the same option once again. You can sort of just bend your knees, play with being a little spring with the lower half of your body, and just take little hops. Bunny hop your way up. It's okay if you fall. It's something to just play with. Just meet me in a forward fold. Maybe smile to yourself if you played with that a little bit, just enjoying something new perhaps. When you're ready, inhale slow, lift slow to standing. Making any adjustments you need. Finding your tall mountain pose, settling in one more time. I always say one more time, but there's always one more time. So here we are in mountain pose. One more time. Let's add on now and move through Sun Salutation B. Inhale, hands lift. Sink your hips down and back for chair pose. Do this slowly. I like to reach my arms out in front, as I've said, for counterbalance. But if this is too much for your shoulders, just take prayer hands, palms connecting in center, elbows out wide. Hang out here, feel the warmth in your leg muscles, your quads. These help support us a lot. We don't always give them the credit they deserve. And when you're ready, dive forward, send your hips high, take a forward fold. Release the effort in your quads a little bit. Maybe pedaling your heels out here. So bending one knee a little more than the other as you press the opposite heel into the mat. And switching. Be heavy here. Inhale to half lift. Flat back if you're able. I have to pay attention every time. Exhale to fold. Plant your hands. Make your way back to downward facing dog. Option to play with hopping again. Right? Maybe kind of pausing in the air in the middle. Take a breath in, downward facing dog. Shift forward for plank, bringing shoulders above wrists. Lowering your knees if preferred. Keep your elbows in close, chaturanga now. Lower to the mat. Untuck your toes. Inhale to lift for cobra. Keep pressing into your hands to extend them if you'd like to move to upward facing dog. Don't forget to press into the tops of your feet and make active legs here. Kind of skimming your knees off of the mat. This always makes me feel like Ariel from The Little Mermaid, just like singing on my rock in the ocean. Do with that what you will. Lower your knees, peel back down to the mat. Untuck your toes. Come straight up for your variation of plank. Nice. Now make your way back to downward facing dog. Suck your belly button in as you lift your hips. It will help you. Time to hop again if that's what you're practicing. Hop, step, dance. Bring your feet back to your hands. One big hop, you like that? Goals, something to work on. Something I am always working on. I enjoy a nice hop in my yoga practice. From your forward fold, take a slow breath in through your nose. Arms heavy, lift to standing. Nice. We're gonna make our way to warrior one a little differently this time, but I promise this is still the Sun Salutation B sequence. Lift your right knee to your chest. Take a medium step back. Pause in an almost lunge here on the ball of your foot in the back. Now spin your right heel down in center so that your toes come out towards about 2 o'clock. Bring your hands to your front hip points. See if you can press into that back right heel. Just steer everything forward. Maybe uch your front forward a little lower if you'd like to bend that knee a little more. Lift your hands, take a deep breath in for warrior one. Exhale, dive forward, frame your front foot with your hands. Plant your hands, spreading fingers wide. Come up onto the ball of that back foot so your heel can lift. Press into hands and back foot. Send your left foot high behind you for three-legged dog. Toes can point toward the mat. So that doesn't have to mean you lift yours as high as mine. To keep your toes pointed down, this might be a leg lift for you. And that's great. Release your left foot to the mat beside your right. Move through a vinyasa if you'd like. Coming forward to plank. Lowering the knees if you'd like. Keep elbows in close as you lower to the mat, chaturanga. Remember, you always have your option of cat-cow here instead of a chaturanga. We'll all meet together in down dog or tabletop. So if you're doing a chaturanga, peel up for cobra or upward facing dog. Squeeze your shoulder blades together behind you. Imagine letting your collarbones smile. And make your way back to downward facing dog. From here, you might want to flip your feet, maybe lowering your knees, whatever's working for you. Find your way. Option again to hop, step, dance, do you. Find your feet meeting your hands at the front of your mat. Inhale slow, roll up to standing. Grow heavy in your right foot. Left knee lifts to about hip level. Again, take a medium step back. Pause in this lunge. Set your back foot wherever it needs to be to give you the best balance. I sometimes cross mine behind me and then I find myself kind of wavering because it's harder to balance that way. So set your foundation. You've taken your step back. Spin your back left heel down in center, sending your toes out to the side at about 45 degrees. We'll say 10 o'clock. Same thing again. Bring your hands to your front hip points. Use your back left leg to steer like a rudder, and then sink into your bent front knee when everything is facing forward. Inhale to lift your arms, look at the sky, warrior one. And exhale, dive forward, plant your hands. Send your right foot back for three-legged dog. And release your foot to the floor. One more vinyasa here. Shift forward for plank. Lowering your knees if that's your practice today. Or right now. You can do that one time in practice or every time in practice, whenever you need it. Lower to the mat. Finish your exhale. Inhale, feel your belly inflate. Lift to cobra, maybe up to downward facing dog, pressing into the tops of your feet. Lift your knees. And exhale, peel everything back down. Stack your palms face down to rest your forehead and center. Maybe feel your heartbeat against the ground. See if you can return again to your Ujjayi breath practice. If your breath feels short or quick, see if you can slow it down anyway and remind your brain that you're on it. You're working on that oxygen supply. Cultivate patience in your system and see if a sense of calmness can be the result. Laying here, just feeling warm from the sunshine that you built up for yourself today. When you're ready, bring your hands to either side of your chest, right under your shoulders. Press your hips up and back, take child's pose one more time. Make that same little forehead pillow with your stacked hands. And just take a moment of appreciation for this work. This is day 5. Whether you're moving through this in time with the days of a month, or you started on your own day. This is your day 5. Just give yourself the credit for this challenge, this practice, this work, this learning. Sigh out your mouth. Take another breath in, a full one. Sigh it out, let it go again. It sometimes feels silly to make these little relaxing sounds like a baby cooing in a crib, but these sounds actually send little signals to our nervous system that we are calm, so that our mind and our nervous system can both be in agreement. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you found some helpful tools, and I hope to see you tomorrow for day 6. Thanks so much.